stupid fun Evo. Obviously, I don't need to reintroduce it. But anyway, so we're here to work on some parts, obviously. Anyway, plan is in preparation to go on the TX2K, we're going to take some weight out of the car. Current power mods, setup, so on and so forth. Can't really make any more horsepower just due to the fact that we're at the limits of certain parts in the setup. So to try and help make the car go faster, be a little more competitive and have a little more fun with the higher horsepower cars, we are going to take some weight out of it, mostly the unsprung weight, rotating mass and such like that. So from there, I guess we'll just show you what we're doing. In the process of doing so, we're going to completely change up the entire brake assembly. So with that, we got some boxes here. Basically what we're going to be doing is the entire brake system. So standstill braided lines, rotors, pads. We're going to keep everything factory size just because I want to keep it streetable. I don't want to go full retard on the drag car aspect, so we're not going with the Willwood drag brakes or anything like that. However, what we do have, we'll get a pocket knife here so we can open it. Thank you, Kyle. I'm gonna hurt myself. So we'll start with the rotors. These fancy things are pretty slick, pretty sweet. They're a two-piece rotor. You can utilize an aluminum top hat, if I remember correctly, and then we have the slotted rotor. So not only will it still keep all the stopping power for the vehicle for street use wise, it'll take a lot of rotating weight out. I think per front wheel, if I remember correctly, it's like 5.5 pounds of unsprung weight, and then per rear rotor, it's like I think it's like 6, maybe 6.2 pounds of unsprung weight. So that'll really help with the initial hit. You know, when you're lapping in the horsepower and you're racing higher power cars, it really helps to get an advantage. So even if you have a vehicle that you're gonna have a close race with, or that might come around you or have the possibility of coming around you, that initial hit gets you out a little further, make it harder for them to catch you, blah, 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 blah. Just make it more fun for myself, Kyle, or anybody else who might be co-piloting with me while we're down in Mexico. Also on that, we went with, we had decided to go with the EDC yellow stuff brake pads. Anyway, yellow stuff brake pads. These were pretty nice, especially with the stopping. These are I got three quarts of these. I probably only need 2. I only have bought an extra one since we're doing the install. I might screw something up and end up wasting more fluid than I actually have. I went with the RBF 600 Motul brake fluid. Also with the standard braided lines, I went with Kozmic Motorsports, for obvious reasons. Dudes have helped come up with the build. They're actually the ones who help spec out the order. As far as the brake kit goes, that's everything that we're going to be doing with there. So we're doing rotors, pads, new fluid change, stainless steel braided lines, and that should be it with that. The other part that we're going to be changing is went ahead and did a different drive shaft. So that being said, also something that was recommended by Kozmic Motorsports, something else I can also do myself. Ordered from, I guess it's from the Driveshaft shop, a carbon fiber 2-piece drive shaft. So it's pretty slick. Get this thing open here. 2 pieces. So with this, yeah, you got the obvious carrier bearing, the front part of the drive shaft, carbon fiber, rear part of the drive shaft, also carbon fiber. Started with the installing of all the parts.
Alright, so to get this drive shaft out, we need to go ahead, remove all these bolts from the drive flange into the rear differential. Then we'll have to take the 2 carrier bearings loose and then slide it out of the transmission. Go ahead and get started here. It takes a 12mm socket on this end, 14mm wrench on this end. And Jesse's little impact is not strong enough.
Got enough.
So let me go grab a little breaker bar real quick.
So I got the big electric one up there on the.
That's a little extreme.
A bit much. So as you can see, I didn't know this, good information to learn, I guess. Here's our carrier bearing from the stock drive shaft, obviously because it's still stock drive shaft. The drive shaft is actually a 3-piece, turns out. I didn't know that myself, but so I can see why going to 2-piece is definitely lighter and easier. Obviously, the carbon fiber as well. It'd be pretty sweet to get it in here.
Why don't either of us own a creeper?
Yeah, because that makes too much sense.
Right. We just need to buy a lift already.
Yeah. That's no shit.
Now, pull this out. And that drops right down and sits on the joint there.
Now we just gotta take this guy off here and this one here off, and then let's slide it out with the transmission.
Swap tools and cameras with you.
Go. If you just support it. Boy, this thing is fucking heavy.
Well, yeah, it's going to go on carbon fiber. So it should just be able to pull it right out. Perfect.
Okay, well, now we got the drive line out. You can see some obvious differences. Got, 2 joints versus the one. Much larger on all aspects. So definitely a big upgrade. Factory, see we got the magnet factory drive line just to show that it's actually steel. So we got the new bracket here. This is also steel. But this is used to hold up the new drive shaft, since we're not going to be able to utilize the old brackets. And yeah, that's it. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this.
All right, now some aftermarket parts, fitment isn't always OEM. I'm not going to say anything bad about any company in particular, but sometimes there's variations in just certain year models and things just don't quite fit right. In this case, this bracket here for the carrier bearing, the bolt doesn't quite go all the way through on either end. So we got to go ahead and clearance this hole out a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and do that with a die grinder. So lock it in the vise here real quick. Safety first when messing with this stuff, and we'll get started with the overpowered 1-horse die grinder. There we go. That's ready to go on the car.
As you can see, it was a pretty easy install. It didn't take us very long at all. Obviously, drive shaft shop, carbon fiber drive shaft, 2-piece for the Evo 10.
It's a beautiful piece.
Doing pads here on these Brembo calipers is actually super easy. It's honestly a lot easier than sliding block calipers, in my opinion, like you find on most passenger cars. So what we'll end up doing, taking out this pin and this spring plate will pop out. Then we'll wiggle the pads back and forth, get them freed up, get the pistons pushed back into the calipers themselves. These pads will slide right out. Now, since we're also doing a rotor swap, we will also have to pull this caliper assembly off. So there are, you probably can't see it in the video, but behind the caliper, there's a mounting bracket on the spindle. You gotta take the bolts out of there, and the caliper will come free, and then the pad will come off. So, like I said, it's pretty easy. So you'll find you a little drift punch. So, once you get it kind of loose sometimes, yeah. So, just like that, spring plate comes off. Here's the top pin. Now the bottom pin pops out. So they do make tools that you can slide down and push these pistons apart. You can get those there if you want. Honestly, though, since we're not going to be reusing these pads or this rotor, we're going to go ahead and use the handy dandy screwdriver pry bar. So you just kind of start working it, and eventually these pads will start breaking free. You can see we're already getting more movement out of them. You can see how much that rotor is starting to move and how much gap we're starting to get there. So you could go ahead and pull the pads out now if you wanted, but since we're going to be putting new pads in, I want to get these pistons collapsed as much as possible. Okay, so those pads just come right out. As you can see, not much pad material left there. There's still a little bit. We're getting pretty close to the squealers, but overall not too bad. Considering we have no idea how many miles are on this brake. So we did do some damage there to the pad. Except that's not the method you want to use if you need to reuse your pads, but you can damage them. Cool. So now we'll go ahead and break this caliper loose so that way we can go ahead and replace the rotor. I should have more than enough torque to do this, but let's see. There's the bottom one loose. Now we do have to use a wobble for this top one, unless you want to use a breaker bar. So fun fact, 19 millimeter, 3/4 also works very well for that. Okay, looks like that is going to be a breaker bar. All right. Sometimes when bolts haven't been removed in a long time, obviously they get pretty stuck. Since we're also going to be popping this completely loose, we do have this hard line here that also has to be loosened up. So we'll go ahead and, probably can't see it, but there's a clip up here. And probably take it loose from the brake line right there. Yeah, that'll work. Perfect. Pull the soft line loose. Let that hang and drip. And Jesse's back with some lunch, it seems, which is good. So we'll go ahead and get this caliper hung up and out of the way. Which actually we can just go ahead and take it fully off. Normally, if you're not going to replace your brake lines, once you get it loose, you don't ever want to let caliper hang by the rubber brake line. You can actually damage the rubber brake line, and then you could have a catastrophic failure from that of your braking system. Not saying it will happen, but it is a potential. So there we go. We got one Brembo caliper removed. Makes it easy. Set off to the side. We'll just go ahead and pull off these old DBA rotors. Now, you can see all the discoloration all the way around that. This car has seen a lot of brake boosting, a lot of high brake temperatures from that, and that's what's causing all of this discoloration. So it's a good thing we're getting some new rotors on there. All right, so that is a really, really nice rotor top hat assembly there. So go ahead and put this on. We did already put the stainless steel brake line on off camera. So we have to put the rotor on before we can do the caliper. If you wouldn't mind handing me the caliper. All right. Just gotta slide it over here. Find and find where the bolt hole lines up at. So those are started, still very loose. And that's so that way we can get this hard line connected back to that stainless steel line. So takes a little bit of finagling there. Nice and secure, so we'll go ahead and tighten these up. Yeah, so let's go ahead, make some noise. Okay. Cool. So now,
Brake pads?
we'll do brake pads.
Okay, man, just shake that.
And these are real easy, they just slide right down the end. Now, you'll see this pop up online sometimes. Guys doing their brakes won't be paying attention. They'll actually do the pad back to the rotor. Don't do that. Make sure the friction material is to the rotor. So now that pads are in, we'll go ahead, lube up these slide pins a little bit. That way these pads move nice and freely. Really, this just appears to be copper anti-seize, which works nicely. All right, so we'll go ahead and install this bottom one.
You ready?
Yeah, I got one right here. So I don't get copper anti-seize over everything. And then take your handy dandy hammer, little punch, just drive that back home. Now, the second one, we'll get it just started. We gotta put our little spring back in. Loop it under the bottom one, and then you gotta push down.
Use purse.
Right? All right. So that's pretty close. And drive it home. Perfect. Now, sometimes these Brembo calipers, like on an STI, you actually got little clips that you gotta hammer down right in here. These don't have that. They actually have a little locking collar that goes into the back of this inner caliper. So that's kind of nice. So there we go. We got that. Last thing you want to do, take you a clean rag, and some brake cleaner and use it for its intended purpose. You want to go ahead, wipe down the rotor, get it free of any oils or greases or anything like that you might have put on it whenever you were handling it. If you don't, you may not be able to bed the brakes correctly.
Okay, something we didn't go over on the other wheel while we were changing the rear one. Something I'll show you guys real quick on this front side, or this side over here. I'm not exactly sure, I guess, what you'd call these. But there's this rear rotor. If you have the one piece, you have these little holes that are drilled. They're actually threaded already as well. So you can find a bolt that fits in here. For anybody that doesn't know what they're for, you just find a bolt in here, because typically, once you get everything apart, you're going to find that you can't just pull the rotor off as easily as you would think. So you get a bolt that fits in the hole. You grab your drill or hand tool, whatever you want to use. You run it down. Pull the rotor loose. You just back it back out. And you got one up at the top here. Throw that guy in. And you just do the same thing. And you'll see it just release the rotor, so now I don't have to bang on it with a hammer or anything. It comes out rather simple. That way you're doing the least amount of damage. Even if the rotors, you're not planning on using it again, you never know when you might need them or want them for anything. And then just slides right off, right over the e-brake. That's it. Just wanted to give you guys that pointer, just in case you didn't know when you were trying to do it yourself.
All right, so we got Jesse back here working on the rear now. So you can see there. So where have we been for the last, I don't know, what's it been, a year?
Yeah.
At least, I think. So where have we been for the last year? Well, a lot of life has been happening. More or less, I've moved with my wife. We moved across town, got a new place. That ate up a lot of time while we were remodeling.
You got married?
Got married, which I think that might have happened before the last video we did. But as you can see here in Jesse's garage, there's a bunch of my stuff. Like pretty much everything from my old tiny little garage is now here. So including my Subaru, which there's a fun little surprise down there. There was no video made on that yet, but one day there will be. The main thing though is I need to get a new shop built, and life may or may not happen again before that happens, so we'll see what happens in the future. Hopefully though we can start bringing content back, start getting more videos made, and just start getting back out there. I know there's like 3 people that enjoy these videos, so we're gonna try to make those 3 people happy.
All right, guys. Last thing we got left on the car. We didn't quite finish yesterday. We had some stuff we had to get done. We're just bleeding brakes. We've already done the rest of them, so we're just gonna go through this right quick. I think I may have already mentioned though, I'm using this RBF 600 at Motul .4 brake fluid. So I'll go ahead and get going on that one. Now with the new everything basically, we're trying to flush everything out of it that we can. So you're gonna see us pump through some fluid here quickly. Most of these have had a bunch of junk in them too, like just debris and dirt and junk, but you want to go ahead and pump them, Kyle? You'll see actually that the fluid is kind of yellowy, fishy oily looking. As we go, you'll see it clear out. And that's obviously the new fluid since it's a clear fluid. All right, go ahead and pump it.
Okay.
Okay, pump.
Okay.
Okay, pump.
Okay.
Ooh, got a little air on that one. Go ahead and pump it.
Okay.
Keeps popping out a few bubbles here and there. Go ahead and do it again.
You might just say something about the Brembos having inside and outside bleeders.
Yeah. Well, since you guys just heard Kyle saying that, something I didn't know, especially on the rears, the Brembo calipers actually have a, dang it, shooting fluid everywhere, bleeder cert on the outside of the Brembo as well as the inside of the Brembo as well, or trying to say here. The rears, actually, like I said, I just assumed the rears probably just had one, but I was wrong to assume that, and they actually have two as well, on the inside and the outside. So go ahead, Kyle, and pump the brakes. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, they look good. How do they feel, Kyle?
Rock hard.
Oh yeah. All right, and that's it. I mean, brakes are done, driveline's done. Project for this go around is all finished up. Just got to throw the wheels back on it, and then we'll come back with pre-prep for going to TX2K. So, till next time. See you later.